everyone. Welcome to episode 472 of This Is Whole Life. Of course, this is the podcast where we dig a little bit deeper into each message here at Whole Life Church in Orlando, Florida. And this week, we are in the middle. I don't know, we might get dry sometime, but we've been wet more than we haven't been. Yeah. Not as good as I thought it was going to be. Sorry. Melanie was kind of giving me the, no, I can't give you the full smile.
We've been more wet.
Yeah.
WetMore.
Yeah,
Got
I
it.
know. I
There we
know. But yeah, sorry, guys. Anyway, so speaking of Melanie, to my crisscross to my left is
Diagonal.
Melanie Bachman. Diagonal, crisscross to my left. I like that one. Crisscross to cross is Ken, our lead pastor. Crisscross to toss to the left is Lucas, and I'm Randy. So there you go. And it has been, if you tuned in last week to a very craggly midnight message, it's been a little bit since we've all been together. But last week was, I don't know, it's been probably one of the coolest weeks of the podcast in a long time, because while we were all in North Carolina as a staff team with our families, we got to meet Carolina Dave.
We did.
That was awesome.
Had you met?
I had never met him
You'd
before.
never before?
No.
I thought you guys, no? Okay. So
This is
it
my
was,
first time.
Wow. It was,
I've met him many times before.
Ken lived with him for a while.
He was
college,
my
right?
roommate. He was my
high
roommate
school.
in college for a bit.
College.
Oh.
That's
Yeah.
Yes, and I had the distinct pleasure of sitting next to him during dinner and found out lots of interesting stories.
Ooh.
I'm not going to share them right now. I'm going to save them
Save
for
them
when
for
I
later?
need them.
Say them for the appropriate times. That seems fair.
We were late for dinner that night, so I came in a little bit later and had a chance to talk to him for a little bit, and then I was like, you know what? I should have sat next to him at the baseball game. That would have saved my voice a little too.
God works all things together for good. Too.
Well, maybe the two of us sitting together wouldn't have been so good either. So who knows? But anyway, speaking of Carolina Dave, we got an email from him this week that said, "Hey guys, loved the singing on Sabbath." Now this is 2 weeks ago when the children's choir was here. This would have been during the Go Dig a Well message.
I thought the children's choir was this Sabbath.
last week.
Was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
No. Did I get the wrong week? Well, anyway, we'll do it. We'll do it in this. I've already started.
Randy, it just feels like it's been a long
It
time,
does.
so we
Well,
understand.
It was 6 o'clock this morning when I got up to actually do this, and I was like, yeah. When I looked, I know what I did. Never mind. Well, anyway, Dave, we're going to read your email this week. Well, this episode anyway. Doesn't matter because we're going to drop 2 in your feed this week, so it really doesn't matter. Especially that he enjoyed the children's choir, which I will have to say I did sit this morning, and I was like, I'm not going to watch this whole thing. I just got to make sure this is the right message, and then they're too cute not to listen to the whole
Super
thing.
cute.
That's crazy. So, also been really enjoying the WetMore summer series. Can't believe it's almost halfway over. I don't know how Ken plans to end the series in a few weeks, but I think it should involve a dunking tank with Ken in the dunking seat and his kids pulling the lever. Just a thought.
What's wrong with you, Dave?
Dave, I was like,
Great idea.
I like
That's
it.
what I was saying. I'm like,
Did I not invite you to come have a meal? What is this?
I was like, getting thrown out of an airplane, getting dunk tanked. I mean, these are just
All right.
solid ideas.
Interrupt. See how it
Interactive
is.
sermons.
Yeah. So I've told Ken this already, but I just wanted to thank the Whole Life staff for letting me hang out with y'all last Wednesday. Between meeting everyone and the food and the baseball game, I had the best time. I'm redoubling my efforts to make a visit to Whole Life. Hey, I didn't even read this email apparently before that. Maybe the church retreat. Ooh, the plane. Because this is probably what heaven feels like. Thank you so much for such a wonderful and blessed experience. Keeping you all in my prayers, Carolina Dave.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Well, it's a little bit of heaven, I think. I can't totally disagree with you there. So, man, redoubling my efforts. All right, I'm going to have to get you my number, Dave. Just text in. We have to work the details out. Let's start now. Because that gives us almost, 9-10 months.
Which in whole lifetime is 10
a week
minutes.
and a half. Yeah, that's why I'm like, we should start on this now. Let's redouble those efforts and let's get this figured out, because I'm thinking a nice nice kayak ride at camp and a cup of coffee, I think we could get some serious work done. So let's keep that in mind. So Patagonia, the company, wild, crazy. And the owner or the founder, I've seen their logo before, but I didn't really know anything about the company.
Yeah.
And I think we assume that people that have money or that are wealthy, I don't know, like they just sit around drinking fruity drinks and eating bonbons or something, and that you don't always, and those that maybe that you see in the media. I mean, I don't know, Jeff Bezos. I'm just thinking a couple off the top of my head. Who else? Famous billionaires.
Zuckerberg.
Musk. Okay. But I mean, not that I don't think any of them are bad, whatever. I'm not throwing judgment out. But the fact that this guy seems so introspective and like, how can I make, after this setback in my company, how can I just really not, I don't know, maybe just make the cuts and learned a lesson in business or whatever, and we'll do better next time and rally the troops and come up with something. He was like, no, I think I should just like almost throw out the whole idea other than the main idea. But like how we do business, I think I should just like throw that all out and start fresh. And let's see if we can get just as radical as possible when you think about business ideas. Like, hey, let's take 1% of total sales or 10% of profits, and let's donate those to environmental causes. What? I mean, where other than maybe I think it was right during COVID, there was a business owner in Seattle that agreed to pay he took his salary and cut it to the same as all the rest of his employees, making so they could all make I don't know what it was, $75,000 or $80,000, and the company shot up immediately and then kind of fizzled out a little bit, and then it's making a comeback. And so other than I was just trying to think of where have I heard a story even close to what this guy was thinking about, and then finding, it was the Iroquois, right? Indians? Yeah. That were looking 7 generations had someone that would represent them in their 7th tribal meetings. That's so. What did you say? That was 150 years, give or take?
And generations are generally considered to be right around 30 years, so 7 generations would be pretty close to 200 years, actually. But so they can go from basically 20 to 30 years is what a generation is considered generally.
And I feel like all the work that I know you kind of mentioned that work that we're going to be talking about upcoming with the whole congregation, with everybody, and I kind of feel like that was kind of the feeling through some of that process, where it's not just about today, it's not just about the very near future, but also looking back almost that same time, thinking, who was it that was, as we were talking about in this message, digging the wells. And you're right, Isaac really is poor Isaac. He really does get the seemingly the short end of the stick in a lot of ways. But in this, it doesn't seem like he gets a lot of credit for this either, though.
No, he probably doesn't get as much as he deserves.
Right? I mean, I don't know that I've ever really heard the story, certainly not the way you told it and the way that you laid it out, but how do we not know, how is this not one of the better stories in the Bible that, we've preached on the flood and, Ruth, stories that people like to listen to. Is this a story people don't like to listen to?
Well, I think it's one of those stories that when you read it, you kind of just skip past it because it's like, well, what's the point? I mean, he digs wells. Okay, there's conflict over it, and then you move on to the interesting stories. Digging a well isn't overly interesting.
The plot's kind of thin.
It's like, okay, you dug a well. Somebody got in a fight with you over it. You gave it up. You move on to another place. You dig another well. I mean, I think a lot of times when you read that particular chapter in Genesis, you just kind of like, okay, well, moving on to where it gets interesting, where Joseph gets a coat of many colors, or where Jacob deceives Isaac or something, something like that. But the Bible tells us that all Scripture is there for a purpose, and this story, I think, has purpose. And it was actually very, very interesting to read, and just to kind of think a little bit more about that topic, about the significance of building wells, something that will last into other generations and that brings life and creates community.
Location bias. Where your story lands in the Bible, maybe. I don't know. It just seems like really sensible because I don't think have you ever preached a sermon on this before?
No.
Anyone heard a message on this before? I don't think I have. But yet, and while it was, you also, I just am thinking about, like, if you dig a well, depending how far down you have to go. Has anyone ever dug a well? Come close. Melanie, come on.
Nope.
Oh. I've helped with a sand point before, which is a process, a manual sand point, where you hook up a ski rope to the old slip drive, and you just keep pulling it back and letting the whatever you can lift weight drop on the sand point, trying to put in your own well. So I've done that before.
I've seen a well.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, my parents had a well put. I think they had the well put in at our house, and I watched them do that. And then did a mission trip to Thailand where we created a gravity-fed water system that carried water from a well down to a village that was about a mile away.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And
nice.
And that was truly incredible watching that particular experience, watching the people in that village. They would have to walk a mile, I think it was pretty close to a mile one way to get the water, and then you fill up the water containers, and then they would carry them back a mile to their home. And watching them be able to go to a pump and pull it open and water just comes flowing out, it was just absolutely life-changing for them. So that was really cool. That was a ADRA project, Adventist Disaster Relief. I think I got that right. Anyway,
Agency?
Yeah,
Association.
I don't know. Anyway, but that was an ADRA project that did some of the good work they do.
Makes me think of Charity Water. I don't know if you know that.
There's a number of different organizations that work with water projects. I think World Vision works pretty extensively with water projects. But truly in the United States, I think we really take for granted accessibility of water, where in many other places in the world, it is just not a given.
Right.
And having a good well near you with good water changes everything.
But then having the Philistines come and fill it in?
Yeah.
When you spent,
it's a pretty clear message they want you to leave.
You dig it, like you said, you maintain it, you need it for survival of flocks, of food, all these things. And it's like, I'm going to go, after I've done all this, you're going to fill it in on me. So he apparently wasn't a fighting man or fighting tribe or fighting group, or I don't know how big was his.
That's an interesting thing. He doesn't, certainly Abraham fights some battles, but Isaac doesn't seem that interested in. Isaac seems like, as a person, he seems very conflict adverse. Yeah,
no, for sure. I don't know how you could not be, because how many times is it? 4 or 5?
I think it was 4.
I think it's 4. And then he named. My favorite part is, though, that he names it, and I'm assuming that by naming it in his time in space and history, that was like kind of maybe it's as close as you get to as you walk back, you spit on you, and I walk away because I'm angry. When you leave it on the sign, or like, oh, don't drink the water, it's poisoned. Of course, now that you filled it in, I don't know that anyone's going back. I don't know that much about wells. I don't know. Can you? Well, I suppose you should be able to redig it and clean it, I would suppose. But then, so it's what is one is an argument, the other one is hostility. And I'm just like, well, a little maybe And maybe just a little passive aggressive, little fun, just like, well, fine, then I'll just leave you a sign as I leave my well, and guess you're not going to get to drink it either. Man, am I thirsty. So all I can think about the whole time is just like how thirsty everyone must have been while they're like, did they have a backup well while this was going on?
I'm guessing the Philistines had wells inside their city.
Yeah.
And stopping up his was just a message of get out of here.
Just get out.
If there's no water, you can't stay.
And then the last one he digs is the open place. And so then he's like, fine, see, this is the open place. No one's bugging me. Everyone can have access to my well. I just thought Isaac was like, so maybe instead of, what was it, dare to be a Daniel? What would be the I word for like include yourself like Isaac, or, I didn't think this one through beforehand. This one just kind of came on the fly, but just like we should
maybe our listeners can help you out.
Yeah, we should be thinking about something cool that we could think about Isaac, because
instigate like Isaac.
Something.
But he didn't instigate.
Well, I know. Well, kind of. I think the signs he instigated just a little. I think that was it. But
he dug a well that caused instigation, right? I don't know. No?
Sure.
Yeah. He started it.
I can tell our resident wordsmith is...
Come on, Melanie. You don't have one for us?
I have to think about it.
I know.
She's not willing just to throw stuff out that...
No, because it might be silly.
Might be incorrect.
The storm must happen inside my brain.
Wow. Well, I think we need to have a cup of coffee and talk about these storms. I'm now curious. So anyway... So just thinking about the wells and how patient and how Christ-like it seemingly that he was to the Philistines for continuing to just destroy all the hard work. And it's hard work is the one thing, but then it was just like, this is, like you said, this is life. You have to have it. And to just like, okay, we'll move on. And thinking about that, like what wells, what are we doing here at Whole Life to create life and community, and thinking of the culture that we all enjoy about Whole Life. I mean, those were dug years ago by people. And, who were those people? I was just thinking about that. Like, who were the people here before, before I lived in Florida? It's been 25 years, 24 years, something like that. Who were the people that were here 25 years before that digging holes? Or digging wells. I mean, digging holes. I dig holes all the time. Probably should dig more wells. A hole in a well.
There is a subtle difference.
Yeah, a hole is a good intention. A well is something much more lofty than that. As I continue to dig this hole that I'm standing in now, I'm about waist deep.
I think there are a lot of people, and I think if I worry a little bit that if I start naming names that I'm going to leave out some important people.
Absolutely,
but I think about, I've heard about the Facundus family.
Yeah.
Very, very involved. I think Andy McDonald, was here for 37 years, and I think a lot of what Whole Life is today is very much a part of Andy's digging wells. John Monday.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Big part of that. Think about Jeff Sincamani. And there's probably some of you who are listening to this right now that you are part of digging wells here at Whole Life. You've been here for a long time. You've created legacy. And there's the wells that we know the person who dug them, and there's the wells that you don't know who dug it, but you're sure glad it's there.
Right. And what would the other, just thinking about those wells and how we benefit and how things are the way they are here, just the overall culture, what kind of wells, if we could choose, like what kind of wells would we like people to dig? Are there wells that we're missing that, like, man, if we had someone, digging that well, doing this for our community or for even just, something on a smaller scale, list for random members or whatever. Like, is there anything that you can think of? 'Cause I was thinking of that this morning when I was driving in. It was just like, what kind of wells could we dig that we haven't? I'm not sure I have an answer, but
That's a great question.
It is a great question. I think it's one of those things that I can think. I'm an idea person, so I can come up with all kinds of things this church could do. I can come up with that all day long. And one of the things that I think over the years become more impressed by and felt like is important is to give people the room to let God speak to them about the well that God's calling them to build. I think that there's a time to build wells, there's a time not to, and there are people that are called to build wells, and there are people called not to do that. And so when I think that this church, there is so much that we could do that we're not. There's so many different opportunities for us to be engaged in our community, to be a blessing to other people, to do things right here at 2800 North Orange Avenue. There's a lot of those things. And the question isn't, I don't think the question should be, and one of the things I think that Andy was particularly good at was allowing people to come up with their own ideas and then resourcing them when they came up with an idea, and making sure that they had the resources to be able to, the tools they needed to dig the well. And so I think that's a really important part of what we do here, is that if you feel God calling you to do something, let us know, and then let us know how we can resource you.
That's good. Because I was thinking also, Isaac wasn't the person that you hear, like, he's not the first person when you're in this chapter of the Bible. Like, is Isaac even in the top 10 of people you would be like, name the top 10 most popular people talked about in Genesis? And
Well, he's pretty much the patriarchal sandwich.
Yeah.
He just kind of fits in.
Yeah, but nobody leads with Isaac, or
Yeah.
you're going to go through, you'll start with Adam and Eve and probably Cain and Abel. I mean, there's no way he's top 5. There's no way he's top 10.
Lots of talk about Abraham, lots of talk about Jacob,
Yep.
Joseph.
Yeah.
Almost everybody gets a little bit more airtime than Isaac does. And Isaac's kind of this mysterious figure in the Bible. I think that I think he's probably a lot more complex than we than we understand. And
just because we don't know.
So it'll be interesting to find out more about him when we get to heaven.
But it made me think of, just as we wrap up this episode, it just made me think of a lot of times we look at people that have really obvious talents, and just like the people we just mentioned. Joseph had the dreams, and he was Dad's favorite, and you had Adam and Eve, and you had all these people that just seemingly are people that you're like, oh, I would love to know more about this or that. And Isaac, you don't know that much about. And I think a lot of us sometimes feel like, well, I don't really have, I'm not up front. I don't speak up that much in even in Bible study classes. I like to just listen and, take it in. And maybe I don't have a ton to share, but also some of the most basic things that you could possibly do, like dig for water to make sure that your family and your community is watered, and being able to grow crops and have herds of animals to help feed and clothe, and all these things. Some of the most basic things, when you look at it from the way we looked at this message, you could be you're the linchpin, you're the thing that everything pivots on. And but yet you're just thinking, well, I don't really have maybe something spectacular. That's pretty spectacular talent to have and to be able to do. So don't be discouraged by what we may feel like. I have to sit here and look at Melanie every episode and just think, man, if I just had a little of what Melanie had.
So we all do that.
I know. I know. I can see you guys. We do it every week, and so. But don't be discouraged. Even though Melanie is amazing, just don't be discouraged. That's all I can say. Lucas, did we have any questions from this message?
No, not from this one.
No, well,
Yeah.
That's okay then.
Impervious. Implacable.
Ooh.
Independent.
Uh-huh.
Interstitial.
Interstitial.
Potentially
That's not a
introverted.
word. Is it?
Interstellar. Is that?
I don't know if interstitial?
Interstitial.
In need of a dictionary? Is that?
Well, we had when our offices used to be close. We used to have this little deck of verbal
did.
little dictionary cards that would
Yep.
or vocabulary, like words you don't hear very often to, empower. What was the Reader's Digest? Improving your word power.
Yeah, something
Something like that. They used to,
vaguely
and I used to
remember.
love that because it was like,
too.
I think I'll need that.
you could drop new words on it.
Well,
okay.
I'll have to bring my cards down the hallway so
Yeah,
that we can work on our vocabulary.
Maybe we can work on one every podcast episode.
There we go. Just work
And
in the
just
words
work it in
somewhere.
and see, and then we can have people. Well, they can Google it, I guess. So anyway, okay.
I think it is interstitial. That is the right word.
Is it?
Wow.
What does it mean?
No, people have to look it up for themselves.
Okay, I was gonna be like, all right, Professor Ken, tell us what it means.
Here's your homework.
That's right. Tune in next time when Ken reads the next special word of the day.
No, that was Melanie who gave us this one. I'm looking it up right now.
We're gonna move on to the next interstitially creative episode.
Not used correctly.
Doggone it, I thought I had it there, Ken. Thanks.
Good try though.
Okay. Well, interstitially, we'll be back next.
10 for the effort.
Okay.
No.
Your feed will be interstitially updated in the next 15 minutes. They'll probably be updated with both episodes. We're at 472. 473 is coming right behind it. So you guys have 2 episodes to listen to this week. And then next episode, we'll go into a little more detail about what's upcoming in the rest of the summer series. And we have text messages and emails and questions. And so we'll see you guys over in episode 473. Thanks for listening, and see you in 5 minutes. Just let it play.
Probably
Just
30 seconds.
30 seconds, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe even
let it play.
15.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Interstitially yours. The podcast team. No? I can.
Keep working it.
I like that
You
one.
might get there eventually.
Interstitially yours. I think that's worth it. And if I've offended anybody, I'm sorry. Because I don't know what it means. Oh, mercy. All right. Oh, mercy. I wasn't prepared for interstitially at all. Okay. All right.
Do you want to cut? Or
Yeah, let's cut so I don't have to. That way I'll just have to.